This week in Jamaica Now, Marisa Dalrymple-Philibert is out as Speaker of Jamaica's Parliament after the Integrity Commission rules she be charged for lying. Heat on the Integrity Commission after its executive director tells journalists to ask the government about the shooting of a director. PNP President Mark Golding says he's not afraid of his opponents.
I will not be daunted.
And lightning strikes a schoolboy football match. 2 students remain hospitalized. I'm Jovan Johnson, and this is Jamaica Now. A new Speaker of Jamaica's Parliament will have to be elected after the embattled incumbent Marisa Dalrymple-Philibert resigned following a ruling that she be charged for giving false statements about a $6 million Mercedes-Benz motorcar she owned. She also resigned as Member of Parliament for Trelawney Southern. Edmund Campbell has more in this report.
The Integrity Commission's Director of Corruption Prosecution ruled that 8 charges be brought against Marisa Dalrymple-Philibert in relation to the non-declaration of the car between 2015, when she bought it, and 2021. The controversial use of a 20% duty concession to acquire the vehicle is also in contention. After the ruling became public Tuesday, the opposition PNP and a string of civil society groups, including the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica and the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, demanded that Dalrymple-Philibert step aside until a court rules on her matter. Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert has insisted that she forgot about the luxury car and that its omission was a genuine oversight. She said that she was stepping aside after considering the damage criminal charges have done to her reputation. The Integrity Commission's Director of Investigation has reported that Dalrymple-Philibert denied owning the car in March 2022 and asked that the anti-corruption body correct what she then said was an error. But 2 months after that, the car, which was in her name only, was sold in May 2022. In February 2023, after being presented with evidence, the former speaker told the Director of Investigation she recalled receiving a concession or government discount for a vehicle which she said her sister drove until she sold it. But her sister Agneta Vera has given contradictory statements, saying the car was mostly used by the former speaker. Dalrymple-Philibert had also stood as a guarantor for a loan her sister's husband took from Sagicor Bank to buy the vehicle. The car was given on a government concession whose policy is that the vehicle must be primarily used by the official. The Integrity Commission said consideration should be given as to whether the concession was fraudulently obtained. The Director of Investigation also recommended that the Financial Secretary should recover allowances paid to Dalrymple-Philibert in breach of the concession and that the Commissioner of Customs tries to recover duties that were waived. Prime Minister Andrew Holness was not in Parliament when the report was tabled, and he has not commented publicly on the matter.
Edmund Campbell there with that report. Meanwhile, members of the opposition PNP walked out of Tuesday's sitting of the House of Representatives after claiming that they were being muzzled by Dalrymple-Philibert, who tabled her own report. A new microphone system allows the Speaker to open the mic for members to speak, and Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert said she would not allow any questions after sending the report to 2 committees.
Do you have a point of order?
I have a question for you,
No,
arising from what you just said.
Member, whenever a matter comes before this House and is referred to a committee, there is no debate on the matter. Out of respect as a leader of the opposition, I am going to direct you to the standing orders as it relates to a ruling of the Speaker in this House. And I have ruled that this matter goes to the Oversight Committee for deliberations and to that. And I am now moving on.
Several civil society groups said Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert should not have presided over the tabling of a report involving her. And there are calls for security for officials at the Integrity Commission to be boosted after the Director of Corruption Prevention, Ryan Evans, was shot and injured on Thursday. Deputy Commissioner of Police Fitz Bailey said robbery was the motive. The Commission says it will not comment on the issue, but it has been facing criticisms after Executive Director Greg Christie told journalists to ask the government when he was quizzed on his thoughts about the shooting. The Commission says neither it nor its Executive Director was conveying any blame on the government for the event. Head of Jamaicans for Justice Michael Jackson said the response is not sufficient to address Christie's controversial comments.
The organization had called for an official release that would have acknowledged that the comments were potentially dangerous and the IC to clarify what exactly it meant. What the public has gotten is a Twitter post now placed on the letterhead, and that is insufficient. And on that basis, the integrity commissioners, it is needed, their leadership is needed to send a signal that the commissioners are not standing for actions that could put the Integrity Commission in disrepute.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Mark Golding told the Gleaner that he heard on Thursday that the Integrity Commission had been trying for some time to get the government to make additional arrangements for security for the commission and its staff. The government, the private sector organization of Jamaica, and the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association condemned the attack. And news also came on Thursday that a worker at the Falmouth Law Office of Attorney-at-Law Mrs. Dalrymple-Philibert was allegedly robbed by gunmen. He reportedly made off with cash, jewelry, and an electronic device. A woman who was at the location was not harmed and no shots were fired. PNP President Mark Golding has sought to defend his right to run for political office in Jamaica, declaring that he is a born Jamaican and does not fear his political opponents. He made the remarks at his party's 85th annual conference on September 17.
I am who I am. Out of many, one people. I am offering myself to the Jamaican people for service in their interests with the skills, the knowledge, and the experience that I have gained in my life. I don't come here to scrape from the people. I come to serve all Jamaicans. And I come to you, Jamaica, with clean hands and a clean heart. Whatever depraved and divisive vulgarities my political opponents may stoop to in their desperation to hold on to power, I will not be daunted. I have no fear of them.
Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke says public funds are no longer necessary to pay the salaries and operational expenses of fraud-hit Stocks and Securities Limited SSL. He says SSL has received an insurance payout of $1 million or 155 million Jamaican dollars, which was used to pay the August bills. The government has faced public backlash after Dr. Clarke announced earlier this month that about $15 million of public money will be used to cover expenses at SSL. He said the financial support was necessary to avoid disruptions in the ongoing investigations into the alleged fleecing of more than $4 billion from SSL clients. Dr. Clarke is now saying that the insurance funds came through on September 7 and no public funds had to be paid out.
SSL's receipt of insurance proceeds occurred prior to the Financial Services Commission's finalization of the steps required for the Commission to provide short-term support to SSL. With SSL's receipt of the insurance proceeds, SSL no longer needs the Commission's financial support. As such, approximately 2/3 of SSL's net salary bill for August was paid last Monday without any financial support from the government. The other 1/3 had been paid earlier by SSL. The temporary manager had filed a claim on SSL's overseas insurers through its insurance brokerage way back in April of 2023. However, payment from the overseas insurers in respect of the insurance claim was only made to SSL 5 months later in an amount that represents the maximum limit claimable under SSL's insurance policies.
And thousands of clients of SSL were expected to start getting back their accounts or even some money on Friday. Many of SSL's over 8,000 clients directly own securities such as stocks and bonds in local currency. Those accounts are held in the Jamaica Central Securities Depository, which form part of SSL's off-balance sheet business, meaning assets not owned by SSL. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke said starting on September 22, SSL's temporary management will begin the process of transferring the Jamaican dollar client securities accounts from SSL's custody to other security dealers selected by the clients. He said for those with US dollar accounts, the process will take longer. The government, through the regulator, the Financial Services Commission, took temporary management of SSL in January after the alleged fraud was reported. Sports star Usain Bolt is among the more than 70 clients affected. At least 6 persons, including 3 players, were treated at hospital Tuesday night following a lightning strike at the Issa Water DaCosta Cup match between Charlemont High and Dint Hill Technical in St. Catherine. Up to Thursday, 2 of the students were still hospitalized. The lightning struck about half an hour into the match. Parliament and the business community have hailed late R. Danny Williams as an exceptional Jamaican patriot, businessman and philanthropist. Mr. Williams, a former government minister who founded the first Jamaican-owned life insurance company, Life of Jamaica, which is now Sagicor, died on September 16 at aged 89. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner, and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification, and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, highlights from the annual conference for the opposition People's National Party.
As you can see, that we're at the beginning of the conference. The crowd is streaming in, and we have a very wonderful setup inside. I'm sure you'll concur. And we expect to have an energetic day, one that is purposeful, with a message to the Jamaican people. The cupboards are excited, they're energized. To be frank, the request that we've been getting for assistance with mobilization is far beyond what I've seen before, so we expect that there's going to be a bumper turnout today.
We want changes. We're tired of what is going on. Teachers not getting proper paid. Police not getting proper paid. The hospital need to be fixed and all of that. So we just need to do what we have to do.
They have the feeling that it is our time, and that time has come now for the People's National Party in terms of government. So it's critical. It's one that we're sending a message. That we're ready. We're sending a message as to the issues that we'll be taking on. And so, I think it will be a good conference for Jamaica for them to see that the People's National Party has gotten ourselves into a position to reclaim government, and that they'll see that we're getting there not by default, but by deliberate, purposeful action, and that we're seized of the issues that are affecting the country, and we have practical solutions.
Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?